start tonight. Let's go. I'd like to welcome everyone. This is the regular council meeting for November the 8th. Invocation and pledge of allegiance will be led by me tonight. So if everybody would please stand and bow their heads. Loving Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help us as we gather together. We pray for your guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Help us to work together, encourage each other to excellence. We also ask you be with our citizens, our fire department, our police department, our town employees. We ask that you just be with everyone in our wonderful little town. We ask this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Everybody face the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you have before you the agenda. Anyone must make any changes, add to, delete? If not, we'll need a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Approval of the regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Citizens' requests and comments.
I would like to start off with welcoming Tim Wallace, attorney with the Deaton Law Firm. As many of you know, Scott Conrad is out campaigning. He's running for judgeship, and so Tim has been gracious enough to fill in for him tonight. So thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
I'd like to say good evening to the board. Thanking God for just being able to be here. I have two things I want to discuss with the board and the members from the city of, concerning the city of Maiden. Number one is I see the plan laid out in my sunshine list about the park. I don't know when you're going to start doing it, but I'm concerned about the Union Street Park, which the citizens request to talk about in the Rosamore Park. When are you going to start updating or doing something to that park, those two parks? And the reason why I'm saying that we have kids that, the one down on Rosamore Park is standing with water, and I had mentioned it about the way the water stands there, and that's not safe for the kids. The little boys down there Sunday when I got out of church, because I circled the parks and up the Union Park, the lady pushes her grandkid through there, but the equipment, what I'm concerned about, when you do these parks, who picks out what equipment for the age limit? Who designs the parks?
So let me jump in right quick so I can answer this. So first of all, there's money in the upcoming budgets for relocation and new playground equipment for both of those parks to move it out of the wet area. And then once it's moved out, Public Works is going to go in and do some drainage to help with the drainage issues. But who picks it out is I think we had the Recreation Advisory Committee this year pick out the two pieces of equipment that's going in each park.
Okay, when you're picking out this equipment for the park, how do you go about picking it out? By the age limit? We're concerned about the smaller kids. I don't see the best thing about this park, Rosamore Park, you have the basketball goes up there, and what it needs to be, I know you say you're gonna run and do the surface and bring it up, but what I was the community concerned about, what what equipment you could put in there. You're saying two pieces of equipment, but now we got on both parts. We got the kids coming there like 2 and 3 years old. You gonna put something there
I
for
think we-
them?
Keaton might be able, I can't remember off my memory, but if I remember correctly, it was something mid-age, so both age groups could use it, correct?
So, yes, 5 to 12 is the two pieces that are coming in, they're identical, one at Rosenwald and one at UU. And we try to keep a balance that, something appropriate for all ages.
Yeah. But we are relocating, in Union Street, we're tearing down the volleyball, goal and relocating it there. So Public Works can get in and work on the storm drain. And I think we're relocating the one at Rosenwald a little bit, correct?
Correct.
You gonna, only thing you're looking at is the water, the way the water's standing. Are you
Yeah.
gonna resurface and bring that up some where the water drain off
The resurfacing of,
the basketball courts? Bring it up some?
I don't know when that is scheduled to be done. I just know that we've looked at the storm drain for the playground area and to get it completely out of the parks.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say?
Yeah, I got a couple. First of all, the folks who were participating and working to ensure that the Halloween road closures, those kind of things, I thought it went well, had a lot of good feedback on that. Had a tremendous amount of positive feedback about the movie in the park that we did. I'm sure it's an official name. What was it? I don't know, but when we had, they showed the movie over at the recreation, whatever that was. What was that? Hocus Pocus, that's it. Hocus Pocus. So heard a lot of good things about that. Did have a citizen who brought a concern with regard to the bricks at the Veterans Wall. First of all, Veterans Day is coming up. I appreciate all the folks in our community and town and family members who have served our nation, and I hope that we take the time to honor them. I know that we have an event coming up this week on that, so hopefully people will come out and attend and recognize those folks. But this individual was a veteran and wanted to bring to our attention that the cost for those bricks, he felt like that the town should purchase those bricks for our veterans. So I went to Wanda, and I appreciate her help to give me some information on that, to provide feedback to him with regard to the cost of those bricks, that the town doesn't make any money on those. It is a purchase that those folks made, and that fee is to pay for the etching on those bricks. And I will tell you, there's a lot of people, I went down and looked at the bricks down there. A lot of people buy bricks for their family members or for other people that they know, and there's several names on there that are folks from our community. There's some that are not even from this community. So I think it would be tough for us to buy all the bricks for anybody that suggested that. I did say that it might be something that an organization like the American Legion or VFW or even the Veterans Administration in the county may be able to possibly sponsor some of those or any of that. So I will just bring that to council for feedback. If anybody has any comments or thoughts on that. Did I leave anything out, Wanda, that I need to tell?
I will also say that in the past, we have worked with people that that struggle to be able to afford it. We've done that once or twice. The cost for the brick is just for the etching. We do actually pay for the brick that's in the wall. The only thing the person pays for is the actual etching of the brick, and it's the actual cost. We don't charge anything for our time or anything like that.
What is the actual cost then?
It's $150.
And if you exceed the amount of numbers that's on there, then they'll charge you extra per letter.
Got it, okay.
So.
And that's all I had.
I will say, echo about Veterans Day, Joe Duckworth, who is, his last day is actually Fridays. He's moving, he's took a job as an accountant for the city of Shelby, which is a promotion for him. We'll be hosting a Veterans Day, event at the rec on the 11th. I had it on my notes what time it was, and I have lost it. Anna, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but maybe you could look on Facebook and look on the post. 10 to 1, there you go. 10 to 1 on Friday.
I would also like to make a comment. Since we last met, we had the Hunger Walk, and we had a great turnout from the town of Maiden. Our goal was to raise somewhere around $15,000, and I think they ended up raising $33,000, which is fabulous. Every bit of that money is divided between ETRICM and the corner table. So they divided evenly, and it's to help feed the hungry. So it was a very successful event. There has been discussions when we last met to debrief from the walk that in the future, maybe the streets need to be blocked off instead of just walking the sidewalks, because it was enough people that they actually just sort of took over the streets. So that is something that's been suggested, as well as possibly moving it around to different towns or different cities through the years, just to get more involvement. I think if it came to this town, we'd get a lot of involvement from the town of Maiden as well as the churches in Maiden. Then if it went to Claremont, it would, sort of motivate that group maybe to get involved. So that's something that's being looked at too, and I think it'd be great for the county if we were able to do that. So
I appreciate Wanda lining everything up for us and making sure we were there and all in uniform at the right time and all that.
Our sidewalks are nicer.
I've told them that, and I've told them our public works would actually hang the signs. We wouldn't have to climb ladders ourselves to hang the signs. We might get a little help.
I also want to make an announcement that our Christmas parade is the 26th. It's coming up. 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock sharp. Council who is planning on riding in the parade, I will send out information what time, if you would like to be picked up from the middle school. We will pick you up. That way when the parade ends, you can hop in your vehicle and leave. Once Keaton gets all that arranged, I'll let you know the time.
So I have something I want to bring up about that. You and I have discussed it, but I know many people that have rented floats are asking the same questions. I had several people ask me at church Sunday if we were going to be able to throw candy this year. And
I think we stopped.
We are going to convert back to the same rules we had pre-COVID, correct?
Yes, we are asking folks to get candy outside of the parade route. We do not throw candy in the parade route. Do not incentivize.
We cannot-
folks to run inside of the
We cannot tell
So
people.
where
that-
else would you throw it? Sorry, Tom.
so I think in
If
the
you're
past-
asking the town if you're allowed to throw it, the answer is no. We are going to follow the same policy we followed pre-COVID, and that's about as far as I'm going with it.
So I don't know what the policy was pre-COVID, but every parade I've ever been to, we threw candy out. So
There you
if
go.
that was the policy before that, then it is what it is, but,
I think what
Can-
we did in the past is ask people to walk alongside the parade route and to hand out candy if that's what they wish to do. However, pre-COVID, people did throw it from the floats. So I'm just gonna read between the lines and I'm gonna say something, and if I'm saying wrong, you say, Beth, watch it, girl, or whatever. You're saying we're suggesting that they hand out the candy. However, if they throw it from the float, they're not gonna be arrested. I mean,
I doubt our police department's gonna arrest them.
Yeah, that's chief, that.
well, I mean, the world's not gonna end, is what I'm saying. It's not gonna. I mean, I feel like I know we're in a tough spot based on our insurance. I mean, I get it. That's where all this stands. But we're gonna allow people to basically do what they feel safe.
If
Yes or no?
If when they get their forms, we tell them that, that
you should just stop.
Wow, wow. That's all I got is wow.
Just stop now.
We're riding around in a posy cart.
I don't think our insurance allows us to tell people they can throw candies, and I don't know how else to put it.
That's what I'm saying.
It's up to you.
That's what I'm hearing between the lines. You wanna chime in on that, Mr. Attorney? You got a comment or no, sir?
I would agree to, I wouldn't say that you should throw the candy. Don't need a liability for the town.
And we
I
are-
knew that'd be your answer.
But enforcement is another issue.
So I've got something else, we can change the subject
Thank
from
you.
candy. So 2 meetings ago, I brought up about parking on Union Street, and I know you guys were gonna do some digging. Any updates? Have we dug up anything, or?
Yes, we have looked into it. From what I've understood from the chief and understood from Blake, that is a long, tedious process, which we have began. Once we get a plan of action nailed down, we're gonna bring it before council. But Blake might be better off to speak to it than I am, but from what I understand, it's not something as simple as going in and saying you can park here, you can't park here. There's a lot of, you gonna help me out here, Blake? Cause you was the one that
Well, I
explained it to
think
me.
you've got conflicting ordinances that you're gonna
Yes.
have to,
Right, yeah.
figure out which one was the last one that trumps the first one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But that's, I mean, that's where I was going, that's the problem, it's gotta be cleaned
Yeah,
up,
it's,
so-
it's a mess and we're gonna clean it up, but it's gonna take a little bit of time.
Okay. As long as it's being looked at, I'm happy.
I had one complaint, it was, lighting on Main Street, right in front of Vintage. Right on Main Street, it's dark right there.
On that corner.
Are we allowed street lights through town area? Have we got 3 poles out there that don't have a light? It's awful dark down there at night. if you drive
Especially
through
on
town.
that corner at that stop sign where
Yeah.
there's
We'll look
people.
into it. I've never had a complaint about it.
We,
Right
Right
here
there.
on
Right
Main
there, Main
Street,
Street.
pretty much from Mays down to the first light, just, it's awful dark right in there. I know we got 3 poles with no lights on them, so I didn't know if we could hang a street light on them or not.
We will look into that. How about that?
Sound like a winter to me.
So I have one more question, and I know it's kind of tags on to the economic development tangent I went on 2 meetings ago, but I thought the store at the end of West Maiden and Startown was a grocery store, but that's clearly a Dollar General.
It's a
Did-
Dollar General grocery store.
That's right.
They call it DG Fresh. There is something new that they're coming up with.
Yeah, but the signage doesn't match the DG Fresh. It's like the signage in the store matches the Dollar General. I'm like, do we know for a fact that's what it is?
That's what we were told
the
from the very get-go.
Well, that's why I'm
That's what's on
asking,
the
'cause
permits, correct, Blake?
Well,
The
they
signage
submitted it
is
as a
off.
Dollar General, but that's what the developer indicated whenever, they were submitting for their.
I mean, I'm interested for it to open, because from what I've traveled and seen, that's a Dollar General,
Yeah. But
which
from the
goes back
permit,
to we need more grocery stores. I don't think that's what we thought it was.
Right. Yeah, whenever we discussed with the developer, whenever they were submitting the paperwork, they indicated that was going to be a Dollar General with the, more of a grocery standpoint.
But if they decide midterm, we're just gonna do a regular DG, is that
Then they-
something they gotta come back to you with, or can they just do it?
That would be something that they would.
Right.
Submit with no change.
Yeah, I'm curious for that, Dave, and I just wondered if we knew for a
Well,
fact, because I think from my travels, I don't think that's what we thought it was.
well, when we go through, before they get the CO, we'll have to do a walkthrough. We'll know at that point.
Cool, okay, just curious if anybody knew.
Do you have, Blake, you know, around about time when they looking at opening?
No, but we've got to go out there and talk to them about their erosion control, in the next 2 weeks, so we should have an answer for you now.
Cool,
It's moving fast, that's for sure.
that's why I think it's,
It's moving real
Yeah.
fast.
Anyone else in the audience like to have anything to say? If not, we're gonna move right along. Presentation of Safe Communities Initiative. Charles Mackey.
I'm definitely not Charles Mackey, he's better looking than I am, but Mayor, Council, appreciate you allowing Charles to come. It's been about 2 years, I think, since he's been able to present this presentation to you. It's a Safe Community Initiative we've been a part of since 2010. I would argue that we've seen great success with this, and Charles is really on point. He has a lot to juggle. There's several municipalities along with Hickory and Catawba County who participate in this program, but he does an excellent job. And so, again, it's been 2 years since he's presented. Some of you may have not have ever had the opportunity to see this presentation. Also, we have call-ins coming up. I also try to send those out to you, and you're more than welcome to attend one of those. If you've never attended, it's an eye-opener. So, with further ado, I'll let Charles get it.
Thank you, sir. I'll bring that up at the meeting that I'm better looking that you admitted this. Make sure I bring, hello, everyone. I see some new faces and some familiar faces, so I will just get right to, let's see, all right. This is our Safe Community, Catawba County Safe Community Initiative started. It began in 2010, but it began to address the growing gang activity within Catawba County. So there was a collaboration between 9 county law enforcement agencies. I was sent to New York to be trained in a new program that was going to bring in the community and law enforcement to help address gang and group violence. It was initiated by a 2-year grant from the Governor's Crime Commission, but one of the reasons here, after the 2-year grant, all of the agencies and the city count, the governments decided to continue funding the process. So that's one of the reasons I love coming out and thanking y'all for continuing the initiative. What it's based around is a call-in or notification. I like to make sure I say notification because sometimes we just say call-in. People think that we're just making phone calls, but what happens is it's a serious, structured, focused deterrence crime reduction strategy. And it has shown great success in New York, in Durham, in Raleigh, in Greensboro. There's a lot of municipalities that actually utilize this strategy. It's based around a warning of a concentration, law enforcement attention, and it offers access to concentrated resources and skill training. So it's a twofold. We address the violence from the law enforcement. Hey, we're gonna give you some undesired attention, but we also offer those who wanna take heed to our warning, we offer them access to resources and training. Where did I point at? You? Okay. Again, the whole outline, the goals of the notification is to communicate the desire to reduce violence. That's the big thing. We know we're not gonna stop every aspect of gang and group violence. And really, if they want to hang around and, be as far as a group formation, we know that some of that's going to go on, but we do have history and we do have numbers that show that since we started this program in 2010, we have affected some of the gang activity in the county. We communicate to them we have a highlight of trigger offenses that's going to determine when we will address them and how we address them. If they commit certain trigger offenses that I'll bring a slide up and show them. And then we tell them that we truly believe that there's an opportunity for them to become productive citizens. We do believe that their lives are redeemable. We also offer, again, we're hoping that on a voluntarily that they will accept our resources and the service providers that we offer. Again, we tell them and we try to follow up as much as possible that they will be persecuted to the fullest extent if they do not heed our warning. And it's from the federal and state criminal justice level that we will, where we can fast track the process if they don't heed our warnings. These are the prohibited trigger violations that once we call them in the notification, if they commit any of these crimes, then we start giving them the undesired attention and the fast tracking that we promised. Let's see where we at here. This is all the levels of law enforcement, so it's not just our local. We have representation and backing from the FBI, the U.S. Attorney, DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, the District Attorney's Office, and then again, our 9 local law enforcement agencies within the Catawba County. Okay, let me go back here. One of the biggest part of this and what's made it successful is it's not just backed by law enforcement, that we have a real strong and supportive community voice, and we have the community leaders behind us letting them know that the community wants the violence to stop also. And we also educate them that the street code is false, and that, that they're valuable and important to us. And we just pretty much plead with them to accept the offering that's being presented to them. I always like to show this slide because y'all see right there on the right, this chief right there on the right, he really gives a stern look there when we're doing the notification. But this is kind of an old slide, but this lady right here, she actually has had 2 of her children one is serving some serious time, and then one of them was killed due to gang violence. And so she gives, from a mother and community standpoint, she gives a real stirring presentation that a lot of times there's not a dry eye, and it really affects those that we call in. So I hit it too fast that time, man. These are some numbers that have happened. These were last updated in January 2022. We called in 279 offenders. We've had some no-shows. I'm really excited about the requested assistance from 115 of them. So their assistance is requested at all levels. Some start, don't finish. We've had a bunch of them to actually finish the program that we offer, that actually is a screening process to get them started with the resources. We've had up to 15 referrals because we also tell them, hey, because you came to the notification, these resources are available not only to you, but to some of your associates as well. Here's some other numbers here, but I've got to ask some asterisks there that, less than 10% of the offenders that attended the call-ins have committed the trigger violations. So it doesn't mean that they haven't offended in other committed crimes that are lesser than the prohibited ones, but the ones that we targeted, it has some effect on them recommitting those, which is pretty much our target points. What happens after the notification is we offer them to attend our Success Essentials employability skills that I head up, and we offer them, and it becomes personalized depending on what they need in as far as life coaching, as far as maybe education, just anything that they need. Then we actually have a resource network that we can actually offer to them and start to get them on the track to, again, becoming a productive citizen. Here are some of our resource providers there that you can look at that have come in. We have some additional, I need to update this, but we have some additional employers and companies that will say, hey, if they go through your 8-week process and you will vouch for them and that they've been dependable in that, then they'll kind of give them some more, or give their application some special attention because of what they're doing voluntarily. I'm gonna get this down pat. Again, we're excited about being able to offer free coaching. A lot of those, we come to the table and they just don't have some of the life training and skills that some of us have been afforded. So we're able to help them with some of those. Just as an update, not next week, but November 17th, we're gonna have our first juvenile focus call in. So we know there's been an uptick in juvenile crime activity, and especially in Hickory, some of the murders. And we're going to have, this one is gonna be closed to the public just because of their age, but we're gonna have a focused call in that's gonna address the juvenile just what's happening, some of the lies they're being told, and then the parents are also we're gonna offer resources to the juvenile and the parents. So we're excited about that. We're branching off there. Right now, I want to show like a 2 or 3 minute video about some of the testimonies from the program. We really had some real good success. And so we had some of the guys to come in and talk about some of the testimonies there. Oh.
We're here today to talk about one of our most beneficial programs, at least to the public and to offenders, is our Success Essentials program. You can look at Success Essential as a way to position you to better yourself financially, physically, and mentally. So don't just take it from us. Here are some success stories from graduates of our program. What was your life like before the program?
I was a wild child, no care in the world. I mean, just living day to day.
In 2004, I had a run-in with the law, did a 2-year prison stint, and got out. Reformed my life pretty much, but I still had the history hanging over me and living in the background.
I was unstable. I had a mindset of this is the only way I know, and it wasn't that. It opened my eyes to a lot.
Why did you want to complete the program?
I wanted to do something different, like for us, what am I living for? What's the purpose why I'm here? You can't change everybody. I'm not here to change nobody. I'm just here to change myself, to better myself.
And I felt like I was back into a corner with really no way out, knowing my background. Where do you think you'd be today if you hadn't made the decision to change?
Honestly, I could say I would probably still be doing the same thing I was doing, just no stability, living from meal to meal, check to check, whatever I could do to make some money. And I'm so glad that I completed the program and actually found me a job.
How has the program helped you?
It's a life-changing experience all the way across the board. The thought of having a job was all wrong. It was the total opposite of stability and everything else. It actually allowed me to do more than what I was doing before, what I thought I could do. As in financial-wise and keeping up with my bills and everything.
What advice would you consider giving someone interested in completing this program?
Be the best you that you can be. From the old you. Recreating yourself is the biggest thing, and it's very hard, but at the same time, as long as you see not stagnant, moving forward, it's always a beautiful thing.
If you think you're stuck in a hole that you can't get out of, and you think that there's no hope, that you have no meaningful employment available to you at all, it's really not the case.
It's something in your head that's telling you to take that step, listen to yourself, and take that next step into bettering yourself. It'll always work out for you. I promise you. My name is Randall Williams. I work for the city of Hickory and water and sewer.
I'm Joshua Starfield. I am an IT specialist at a pretty lucrative company that's local to here.
My name is Jermichael Hackett. I'm employed at Target Distribution, and I am a warehouse worker.
Only thing I can say is get in the program and give it a try.
So again, our whole purpose of speaking to you is to update you on where we are. Like I said, we've been going since 2010, and then also give some background about some of the testimony. And there's several more. A lot of them were too shy to get on and be videotaped, but it has been a very successful program. So right here, I just want to go over to anybody have any questions. Chief told me I had 6.3 minutes before I had to sit down, so I think I'm at 6.2. But any questions?
I don't have any questions, but kudos to you and your staff for what you do and all the folks that support it.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank y'all for continuing to support it, y'all. When y'all sit in the budget, I'm trying to get a raise, but thank you. Any questions? comments? All right, appreciate you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Let's see, consent agenda items consist of your finance officer's report.
I do have one thing I would like to add to that. Yesterday afternoon, we received a check in the mail for $5,730 that was back town assessment fees on a property within town. I don't know if things are settling on that or what.
It's the
but-
house that was auctioned off at 509 East Main Street. That's for all the mowing and everything we've done over the years. I said one day we'd get our money back, we just don't know when. Well, it was sold and we got the money back, and it's my understanding, work should be starting on that property within 90 to 100 days, something like that.
And we,
He's taking ownership of it, and he's intending to start on very soon.
Okay.
and we also did receive back taxes on that property as well. So,
Good deal.
So I move we approve the finance officer's report as amended, presented, all the above.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous. Now we're going into a public hearing for a crosswalk at 14 East Boyd Street.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Come before you tonight, as discussed a couple meetings ago, staff was asked to look at a crosswalk at 14 East Boyd Street for athletic lab facility. They have a lot of kids at that facility, and they have also built a field across the street on Boyd, so there is some major concern of kid traffic across that street. We did look at DOT requirements, what it takes to do what they call a mid-block crosswalk there. It does meet NCDOT requirements there. I think it's 300 feet from the nearest intersection, if that intersection is not signaled. We looked at have looked at some flashing solar-powered beacons to go at that crosswalk. They would be activated on either side of the road, giving traffic some additional notification of kids crossing at that intersection instead of just a signage and painted crosswalk there.
So Brian, I know that very familiar with the ones that flash. They also make one that flashes and then they have a solar light on top that lights up the crosswalk as they're walking across. Is there a price difference in that or any availability questions on that?
There is a street light at the crosswalk, at the location at the crosswalk.
So this light only comes on once it's triggered.
Correct.
So as people see that, it shines that light. So, all right, thank you.
So is it triggered by oncoming traffic or is it triggered push?
On the outside,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I thought,
Just when pedestrians are crossing.
yeah,
And it's a push button, right?
Yeah, they have to
Yeah.
push it.
that's what I thought.
There's actually one on Elbow Road for construction workers right now, if y'all wanna go look at it.
And the thoughts for the traffic manual is if you have something that's constantly activated by traffic, it becomes the norm. If it's activated by pedestrian, only when pedestrians are crossing, it brings a little more awareness to traffic that travel that road in it every day.
That's all I got.
Yes.
It's a public hearing.
I'm looking at, I know what you're saying, representation, but I'm looking at I'm looking at all the traffic we got in one of the cities. That's where you got the church field
I'm sorry, Miss Mary, I can barely hear you. I know,
Come up to the mic.
That's what we got to
hey, Brian, how about, can you come up to the microphone? That way Wanda can hear you too when she's doing the minutes.
What I'm questioning is the traffic from, you got a lot of traffic coming there. If you ain't really looked at the whole package when Ethan Allen and all this industrial park come through there, and if you put if I'm not mistaken, it's gonna be one of them signs that you kinda, you hit and tell you when to walk. Got a lot of traffic, cause there's a lot of traffic coming up my way, and I done addressed it with Tracy. It's just so congested. I know what you're trying to do, fix it for the kids, and that's safe, that's all right, but it's a lot of traffic coming through there, especially at the work time, and the kids are out there with their games and soccer and stuff. If you just stand there and look at all that traffic, and when you hit that sign, kids gonna be kids, and they're not gonna be good all the time about their parents. They gonna be hitting that, so it's kind of dangerous, but if y'all go along with it, but I see something getting ready to
So
happen.
I think it's already dangerous.
Yeah,
So
it is.
without anything, it's dangerous. And the good thing about the traffic flow on there, if you look at the time, so the morning traffic would not be in question. And then the afternoon traffic, most of those kids are not there yet. I think they're still getting out of school. And the Ethan Allen traffic and the Delta Mills or
Okay, if you
I'm South Fork
not
Industry.
disrespecting what you saying, Danny, the morning traffic, the evening traffic, it's traffic.
What I'm
Yeah.
saying is the kids won't be there in the mornings. They'll be in school is what
Well,
I'm
they
saying.
won't be at school when they're doing these summer camps. at daytime.
That's a true statement. And yeah, I don't know that they'll be there at 6 or 7 o'clock though.
How,
Yeah, I think that that's definitely a viable thing, but I think to do nothing is more dangerous.
It's also important to know that we're gonna have communications with the lab, and the coaches or the parents are gonna be out there with them as they cross. So this is, there's nothing that we can put out there that's gonna be 100% fail-proof. But this is the best solution that we've came up with the logistics that we're dealing with.
And another thing that's come to my attention over, just since the last week, since daylight savings time has changed, is you get a lot more traffic, pedestrian traffic in that area, and it's getting dark at 5 o'clock now, so that only enhances the need for the crosswalk.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with the sign that lights up, then it has its own spotlight on that crosswalk that comes on when that trips. It's just a thought.
I can investigate that,
We
see if
have
that's an
those-
option to
We
add
have
on.
those crosswalks at work, and that's what they do. They have a light shine on the crosswalk and a sign that blinks. Works out pretty good.
And I'm gonna add, because Miss Mary just triggered something that I should have brought up earlier, but it's about this same area, but I agree with her on the traffic, because in the evenings, if you're coming from Boyd Street, where the athletics lab is on your right, and you're trying to make a left, onto South Main to go towards Glen Oaks, you cannot see to pull out. So that's a separate issue, but something, even with that parking lot, we've got to look out there for people driving. If you've got a big Ford F-350 backed up right there at the stop sign, you cannot see to pull out. So the parking lot itself of the athletics lab impedes visually seeing traffic. So to Miss Mary's point, if I can't see to pull out, I can't see if someone's crossing the road either. So it's a very valid point. It's not really with this crosswalk, but it's in that area echoing what she's saying. So I agree.
We can address that with Grant and Aaron.
Yeah, I think that's a quick fix of don't park from here up and give space, but it's just something we need to look at.
Any other questions from Mayor Council? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody have anything else before we close the public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. Old business, master park plan, Mr. Marty Beal.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. You have before you, just as a review, master plan drawing that was submitted a couple meetings back. What we have done and bringing to you tonight, we've submitting an opinion of probable cost for what it would take to implement this plan. Next slide, please. Just in review, we've divided the project into 3 phases. Phase 1 being the amphitheater, the stage, the restrooms, parking expansion to support patrons for the amphitheater. Phase 2 is a picnic shelter, restrooms for the splash pad area and playground expansion. Phase 3, community center expansion. Next slide, please. You have in your packet of submittal the opinion of probable cost, just as a quick overview. The phase 1, and keep in mind, this is an opinion of probable cost based upon projecting prices. And it's difficult or a challenge to project prices when it's very difficult to get a grip on prices the way they are now because they're changing so rapidly. So we're trying to forecast what prices are currently, knowing that it's always moving. And then we're trying to project price for a year out, for 2 years out, for 3 years out. But opinion for phase 1, including the amphitheater, the restroom building, and expanding the drive and parking areas. Total is approximately $4.8 million. Opinion of probable cost for phase 2, which is the restroom and picnic shelter for splash pad area and playground expansion. For phase 2, approximately $800,000. And opinion of probable cost for phase 3 for a community center expansion, estimated at approximately $6.5 million. For a total package, approximately $12 million to implement all 3 phases if they were implemented within a year. You have in your last 3 columns 10% inflation rates per year for 2023 and 2024 if a phasing plan is implemented to where things are spaced out over time. If you have any questions, I'll happy to entertain and answer the best I can.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that when we started talking about this, I don't think nobody, and no offense, Marty, I didn't tell you that, I don't think nobody expected us to do all 3 phases in 3 years. This is a multi-year, project. But when we asked Marty to look at it, I didn't want to look at a 5-year window. I wanted to look at what the total need would be in the future so that we could have it on the shelf for like phase 2, phase 3, whatever phase we want to look at. We'd have something on the shelf so we'd know exactly what we needed, what approximate size we needed. And if we take today's cost and project it out X number of years, we'd have a good idea of what it would cost. So I know,
Let's talk about that real quick. Are you saying that the projected cost that you just gave us would be for those projected years down the road, or is that current?
The cost that I spoke of is what we're going to call current cost.
Yeah.
But I have projected for
Right.
1 year and 2 year in those last 2 columns
Yep.
for 23 and 24.
24.
And what it is, it's each year it's a 10% rate of inflation.
Okay.
Not knowing what that rate may be, that's just kind of what we're basing upon now.
So if we pulled the trigger today, you're saying 11,889 would be the cost?
Yes.
Okay.
And how much would that save us if we did that as opposed to 3 years? Is that in there?
It would save you approximately,
14,386,000 is the number.
yes, that would
So
be,
it'd save 3 million.
well, it would
3
save
million.
about
2.5.
2.5.
but now it's important to know, that phase 3 is doubling the community center. That is, something that I think we're looking at in the way future, not anytime soon. Maybe I'm not in the same path as
mean-
the council is, but
I personally think all of it's in the way
Yeah.
future. I don't know where $11 million is gonna come from when we just split hairs over an $8 million fire department.
well,
I'm
Again.
struggling with that.
again, I'm not talking about doing all 3 phases at one time, and I'm not recommending any of it. Council asked me to put together a project, and I got Marty to help me, and this is what the findings are. So,
I understand. I'm just telling you where I'm the digestion of $11 million when less than a year ago, we were stressing if we could pay $8 million for a fire department that is an absolute necessity of this town. And now we're entertaining $11 million on what I'm gonna call nice to have items. These are not what I'm gonna call true necessity items. So that's where I have a little trouble digesting this in light of less than a year ago. We literally sat at this table and had a discussion about $8 million on a building that was necessary. I just can't in good conscience wrap my head around $11 million
So I would say,
for parking, added restrooms. I mean, we've got 2 other parks that I don't think have restrooms, and they're not on this map anywhere, which I know that would be a different project, but I'm struggling with this whole project. That's just where I'm at.
So I
But
think-
I've told y'all my stance on a lot of things in the last 2 meetings, so it's probably not a surprise that I have a hard time digesting this.
so I think your points are valid and I understand. I would also say, just for clarification, we discuss everything with money. And none of us are ever in agreement with, I think it should be this price or that price or whatever. But we, as a group, came to a consensus that we did approve the fire department. And really, it wasn't that hard, I didn't think, with the meeting that we had. I didn't see it as a tug of war or anything like that. We threw the numbers on the table, and I think that's what we're doing here. I would say that there is a difference between wants and needs, but currently, we don't have the facilities to support the recreational youth programs that we are putting out there. So I don't necessarily see it as a want. There are some wants in here.
You don't have a facility to support the fire department either, and that's been going on for years.
Well, they have been doing it for over 100 years. and they've-
Exactly my point.
And they've supported it quite well. But I would say that, I don't see the fire department, for me, having any part of this conversation. It's a separate issue, and it'll be a separate funding
It
piece of that.
is,
So,
but I'm trying to tell you where I'm having
yeah, I understand. I'm trying to tell you where I'm at.
trouble digesting.
Very first thing I said is, I understand, that's a big number, it's hard to look at. But I would say that, we will have to do something for our youth programs. For me, the field spaces with regard to the elementary school, with regard to the number of programs that we have, and we've heard several times through, Keaton's reports, the numbers that we continue to grow with, and, as we grow as a community, those numbers will increase. And as we wait to do any of these things, that number will increase as well. I mean, it's,
We've learned that the hard way.
amen. I agree, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm saying this now.
Yeah.
What action do you need from us?
So if you approve the plan, you don't necessarily approve the funding. The plan is something that we can use as a base model moving forward. And at the end of the day, council decides at what point we do what phase and how much of it we try to tackle or try to eat. You know, it's an elephant, eat it one bite at a time. Again, council asked staff to get to get, some numbers together and get a plan together for, relocating Jive After 5 to the rec center with the amphitheater. And, at that time, I don't think nobody knew what it was gonna cost. And so we asked Marty to develop a plan. We put it in the budget to pay him for that, and so that we would know the cost. So, and that's where it's at right now.
So I would challenge staff, and council, and manager, that there are some grants out there. One of those is the PARTF grant, and if there's funding available for the PARTF grant, for this kind of stuff is what they do. I think that you should at least put that in the package so that you know whenever it is that we decide to move on this, whether it be this year, next year, 5 years down the road, that is an option for us, and we should lay out the land now while we're looking into this and find any other grant opportunities that would be out there to subsidize this number that we're looking at now.
Yes, and that's, part of it, but, as I've been instructed by, people who write the PARTF grants, before you can apply for a PARTF grant now, you have to have a master parks plan.
You do.
And you gotta have public hearings on it.
That's
So, again, I don't think anybody in this room thinks that we're gonna pull a trigger on a $12 million item. But we have to have some direction from council. If you still want to do these things, we need to have some direction on what you would like and at what pace you would like us to move.
So have we approved the master plan?
No, that's what is before council tonight. None of the funding is before council tonight.
Is there any way that is there a reason we don't have the bathrooms at the other two parks?
To be completely honest with you, it's never came
Never
up.
had.
I mean, I have never, had someone inquire about it. Most of the people that use Union Street Park, just like I did when I lived
Go
on.
back home.
Yeah, I mean, they're within walking distance of the park. Most of the people that use this park drive to it.
And those are satellite parks too, not saying that a bathroom wouldn't be beneficial, because it certainly would. But I would tell you that there are several satellite parks throughout the county that doesn't have those.
Yeah.
So, you know, as the bigger parks do, I have no qualms with putting a restroom at any of those places. Especially if they're being used, and we know that some of those are definitely being used. So but that's really not what's on the board here tonight.
No, and I think here too, so if we go back a meeting or two, we just approved to rebuild the wall around the splash pad. So it's, the nice to have sometimes hemorrhage maintenance money. And Marty, you may or may cannot answer this, and this is maybe just a question I'm throwing out there. But when you look at total cost here, are you looking at like materials? Are you looking at top of the line or lower level, like it's gonna need maintenance soon? You know, I'm looking at like the bigger picture here. I have a hard time I'm gonna use the splash pad as an example. I think that project was what, $500,000 or more to put a hole in the ground that squirts water up. There's no return on investment, but it hemorrhages money for maintenance.
Yeah, looking at the plan from here, and Marty can correct me if I'm wrong, besides the phase 3 expansion to the gym, after that piece, the bigger pieces are gonna be the cost for grading and asphalt. Is that accurate, Marty?
The most expensive piece of the plan is expanding the community center.
Yeah.
The grading, infrastructure, storm drainage, parking, drive would be the next expensive.
And to Holly's point, that's not as much upkeep as you would think for the other stuff for me.
I wouldn't think a splash pad would be either, but here we are. So that's why I'm asking the question, is like the full picture of, again, nice to have. I'm gonna be looking long-term of what's maintenance, what's upkeep, what's What's,
I think everything is. I mean, we built a new town hall and not long after that had to replace something. I don't remember what. I'm not.
things are
Air
gonna,
conditioner.
things are gonna happen,
Yeah.
like, I get that, but
I mean,
I'm trying to just share with y'all where I'm at.
yeah, I understand. I don't think we're gonna put anything in a park that's not gonna need maintenance.
To answer your question, the pricing is based upon, I'll refer to it as middle-of-the-road
Okay.
materials.
That's fair.
They're not cheapest, but
Right.
they're not the most expensive. That's going to have the least amount of maintenance.
Gotcha.
You will have some maintenance. For example, if you have asphalt pavement, there's a overtime maintenance. You may eventually have to restripe the lines, resurface the asphalt. The building components, here again, it's a public restroom in a public park. It's going to be subject to vandalism. These aren't jail-type plumbing fixtures that are conducive to vandalism. So there would be subjectivity to maintenance issues and the cost to repair.
Marty, I got one more for you. Where it says Phase 1 parking right there, the letters itself, right now there's a very flat and level tractor pull area right there. Was there ever any consideration to put a field there, like for a small soccer field or practice field for?
We have discussed in the past being some type of athletic field there, but there's nothing addressed in this master plan. But that space is not being used for anything for this master plan.
Okay, thank you.
I ask a question? I can't see the right over there. Point out where the dog park is gonna be.
The dog park is at a separate location and is not part of this master plan.
At the water plant.
So how and I'm not a grant expert, let me preface that with big bold letters, lighting, flashing, everything. I'm not a grant expert. But from what I understand, the part of grant, you
Mind
can't, huh?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The part of grant, it has to be one location. You can't split it over. So that's why the master park plan is just focused on this. And this dog park is a separate piece of it, but it's not included as part of the preliminary master plan, if that makes sense.
So the grant you're speaking of, can you get money in phases for these different, so you can work?
You can apply each year. It's now, it's changed. It's been a long time since I applied for one, but we've built several things with it in the past, to include the walking trail they just took up, and it lasted 30 years. But it used to be a matching grant,
Yes, it is.
but there is a dollar limit, and it's rated, and it's graded by a committee based off of points. But I would think, like our chances, but there are several parks and open space requests in North Carolina. It is a huge factor in economic development and growth and those other things. So there's a lot of people out there. Matter of fact, I saw today that some folks have a bond referendum, I think it's in Matthews, just for parks and recreation stuff, so.
So this grant though is for like public parks and that type of
It's
thing?
only for parks. yes.
Mm-hmm.
Public,
It's only for public, it's,
Municipal run,
yes. but
government-owned
It's part
parks,
of grant, if I'm not, it's Parks and Recreation.
trust fund.
Yes, so it's just for public parks and recreation.
so
And
when
it's a
you,
matching grant for $1 million each time you apply.
that's what I was gonna ask.
Again, I envision, and maybe I approach this wrong. I don't think anybody envisioned us coming in here tonight and saying, yes, we approve this plan and we want to start phase 1 tomorrow. I don't think that's the thought process at all. I think the process is, we like this, I think this is a plan, I think this is something we need to move forward with, and then we take it, like I said, an elephant at a time and take it a bite that we can chew on. Each year, we appropriate X number of dollars, starting whenever, And that way staff can plan for it, and, I mean, that's part of it. Then it becomes part of the CIP. I mean, it's just steps into it. I think anybody that's ever dealt with me on a project knows that, the funding aspect of it is the most important. And I scrutinize that the most. But you gotta have a plan to get to the funding part, and I think that's what we're asking for tonight.
So the other piece of that, just thinking about that, and to Holly's comments, which were very fair, we have always traditionally tried to position ourselves where we did not put financial restraints on our budget or the town with that. And part of the reason that there were delays to build the fire department was we were trying to pay off town hall, we were trying to pay off some other stuff. And I would expect that that would also factor into the timeline here if we stayed in accord with that, to your point. So I think that, with the fire department being built and the other stuff, it would be a challenge to our finances.
So then technically, this is gonna pass and sit on the shelf till the fire department's paid, based
No.
on your logic.
No,
Kind
it ain't, so first of all, it's not my logic, it was just
Right,
facts
but
from
I'm
the
saying,
house.
based on what we've done, based on the logic you just said,
So, I'll say it again, so I make sure I don't say it like that. So, I don't think that we have to pay off the fire department to do this first. I'm not saying that at all. I think that we have to, assets plus liabilities equal OE. If we can make those payments through the fire department and still have money to put towards this, then we're there. So what I'm saying is that traditionally, we have tried not to spend more than we're bringing in.
so I would ask, when does staff, what is y'all's vision on when this would start?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, we gotta get financing done for the next year's budget and future year's budget and see how much capital projects in other departments will also weigh against this. I mean, we have 8 other departments, that might not be right, 8 or 9 other departments get paid out of the same fund. So at the end of the year, we look at it and see how much, where the needs are, what the plan is, what the capital improvement plan is, and we address it from there. Now, I keep on hearing the fire department, the fire department in my eyes is already done. We're waiting on the USDA. We have freed up debt services enough, more than enough to cover the note on that. We took really aggressive steps last year to ensure that even in a down year economy, that debt service is gonna be paid for. So, looking at it from a budgetary standpoint, we're looking at economic growth over the next 3 to 4 years that is gonna bring in significant revenues, which will adjust the time frame of all projects, not just this one. I think anybody that's been through a budget with me more than once knows that at the end of the year, my job is to make sure the town's in better financial shape than it was before. And some people at this table, we've even went head to head with sometimes behind closed doors because just because we want it and need it don't necessarily mean we can afford it at the time. Now, our financial.
That's where I'm at.
But our financial shape has continued to get better each year in the past decade. And I don't see that slowing down anytime soon.
And with all due respect to you, Todd, and to anyone else, we asked for this to be brought to us. And the second part I would say to that
Not
is.
we. I was not here when this was asked to be brought.
We as a council
Okay.
asked for this to be brought to us. And first and foremost, while Todd manages the budget and presents us with options, by general statute, the 5 people sitting here own the budget. We own those decisions, and we'll have the ability to discuss them, debate them, and make a decision as a group.
And that is exactly why I'm bringing all this up now, because I'm having a real hard time digesting the numbers on this paper, and to approve something, then to sit on a shelf, so to speak, and I'm just using that as, it's $12,000, it's $14,000, and not knowing where that comes from, or what,
Yeah, you gotta have a plan first, though.
I understand.
And what I'm hearing, for us to have any opportunity for grants, we have to approve a master plan for the parks for us to move forward with any type of assistance.
We gotta do a number of things, the first of which is to have a plan. And I mean, that's just to apply. We will also have to have public input, just like we're having a public hearing Thursday night for the long-range plan. We would have to have stuff like that, for the public input on the park system and everything as well.
So is there a way that we could incorporate a restroom at Rosenwald?
That would be a separate,
It'd be like the dog parking.
yeah, that'd be a separate, I mean,
Not in this plan.
if that's something that council would prefer to happen, that'd be something we can handle in the annual budget. I mean, that is, I mean, I don't wanna say that's cheap, but the cost of
Comparatively.
doing that is much less than the overall comprehensive plan.
And I would think that you would do it, to Mary's point earlier, to both, not Rosenwald, but both.
But, right, but the only reason I was saying Rosenwald is because I've seen people that have went down there and maybe had a family event and had to rent a personal porta-john.
Well, actually, I believe whenever that happens, the town helps them out with it.
Okay.
But do they know that? Is that widely known that if there's gonna be an event at said park, that the town will aid in that? Because, and I know we're off on a tangent, this is another topic, but that's something we need to look at, is these other parks, if there's assistance for things, that needs to be
It depends on
shared
the
somehow,
size.
but that's a separate
I think it depends on
issue.
the size of the event.
Right.
You know, we tried to be accommodating as possible,
Understood.
so.
I make a motion, we approve the Maiden Municipal Park preliminary master plan.
And I'll second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No,
You got that one? Motion is carried 4-1.
Thank you.
Vehicle lease.
So, I can handle it. So, last meeting, we wanted to look at the entire fleet. We had a couple issues that we ran into, one of which, we cannot find any police department who has sold their vehicles after they put in the equipment that's needed to go into the vehicles. They take out the middle console, put all that heavy equipment in, strap them, all the stuff that we do for police officers, lights and everything. So we're a little hesitant on jumping in on that until we get a little bit more data. We are the more we kick this down the road, we gotta have a decision, because we gotta put one way or the other, we gotta get some vehicles ordered. So before tonight, before council, we would ask that you allow, me and to negotiate a contract with Enterprise on the 4 vehicles for Public Works and the 1 admin vehicle for police. And then that gives us another year, well, actually about 6 months before we get, actually about 4 months before we get heavy into the budget, to look at next year's capital, budget. This will also be less than what we actually put in the budget for capital expenditures. So, there will be a little, which is good, because, we got a couple projects that we're gonna have to talk about that we will have to bring back budget amendments that went over a few $1,000s. So that could help with that. So tonight, what we're asking is to allow staff to go back with the 5 vehicles that we're looking at for they hate the word pilot program, it's my word, but for a pilot program to start and see if it's beneficial, which everybody we've talked to, it is. We are still a little bit concerned on the police, patrol car side, because we have no data to support the sale of the vehicle locally. So, that's what we're before council asking tonight.
So is that already in the budget? Or we-
So we put money in the budget to buy X number of vehicles. We'll use that money to put towards this.
So the budget won't be raised?
No, it'd actually be lower than what we
Okay.
put in there. I think we asked for 3 vehicles or 4 vehicles. We asked for 4 vehicles. We're able to get 5 and spend less money than what we put in the budget.
I've got a question
Yes,
about the
sir.
police vehicles. You may know this and you may not. Can you sell those vehicles equipped to another department?
You
You understand what I'm
can,
saying?
you can, but the way this works is they don't sell it to the public, to the public organizations, they sell it to the general public, which you have to
Oh.
take all that stuff out before you sell it to.
And they sell it for us the way I.
Yeah, they sell it for
Yeah,
us.
but I was thinking, if somebody else had this same agreement, a police department that couldn't afford, you know, they needed vehicles but couldn't afford what the new ones.
We've donated a couple
Yeah.
to Catawba.
I'm gonna be honest
Vehicles
with
only,
you,
but we
after,
didn't leave the stuff in it because it may not
yeah,
match up with what we use and what they use.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
radios.
And-
radios and
But
stuff.
the more they get for what they sell, it takes it off our ticket price too.
yeah. So we're not saying no, we're just saying let's wait until we
Look
get
at
some
it.
data
Yeah.
locally. Because the data from up north, out west might not necessarily be in this area. So,
Talking about the data for the cost of the vehicles?
no, for the selling of police vehicles,
Price wise.
yeah. So,
So your only concern right now is just the police vehicles. You
yeah, we
feel good
just,
about
and I don't
Public
wanna,
Works.
I don't wanna keep delaying the 5 vehicles we need until we get more data on the police vehicle. And Tracy had to leave, he's got training, so he's not here to answer any questions. I will try to answer as many as I can.
We have those numbers.
Do you just need a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
So I move that we, move forward with the vehicle lease program with the enterprise?
Have a motion?
Given the manager the authority.
Yes,
Yeah.
giving town manager the authority to move forward with the vehicle lease program with enterprise.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carried unanimous. New business, council meeting schedule for 2023.
Every year in November, we approve 2 things, the council meeting schedule and the holiday schedule. So those are the 2 next items on the agenda. Under General Statute 14333C and 168-71. So before you tonight is the schedule. There are 3 dates that's highlighted. We moved February the 7th, from February the 14th. After talking to every council member, we had some that thought it was unfair for some of our staff members to be here on the night of Valentine's Day. And then we've also been talking for the last last few months about trying to do 1 or 2 meetings in the morning time to allow people who work second shift to come to a meeting. I looked at May the 9th, as a good one because that's also the month we do budget. So we will have a nighttime meeting sometime that month as well. So that'd be a good meeting to do morning time. And then November 14th, that is the one in the fall that we looked at changing as well. Now, none of this is set in stone. Council can do whatever they want. But this is kind of what we've been looking at, and this is what we're bringing before council tonight.
The November 14th meeting, that will not be election Tuesday.
The election is the week before, so council will run for election. They will have the results that Wednesday, but they're not certified for 14 days. So no matter what it says,
Yeah.
nobody can take the seat to December. And typically, historically, all cities try to leave that one as a lean agenda just for obvious reasons. I mean, you don't want to put too much on that one, and then ask people who may not be serving the next month to vote on it. That's putting them in a pretty bad spot. But we do need a motion, to either accept this or amend it or whatever, but,
Make a motion, we accept the
I'll
20
second.
23.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion's carried unanimous.
Beth made it, yeah.
All right, now you have before you the holiday schedule for 2023.
So technically, this is in our personnel file, and we follow it, but I always like to get council's approval. We had an issue one year, about us being closed, on a day for Christmas. So since then, even though it's in our personnel policy, I always like to get council's vote. So we'll post it, and we've got it out there, and, nobody can question the days that we're taking. We get 11 holidays, and here they are.
I move that we approve the holiday schedule for 2023.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Ordinances and resolution.
I got it, Jess. We've already talked about this.
Ordinance 9-2023, ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget in the electric department.
I think we've talked about this a couple times. The lead time for supplies is longer than we've ever seen it ever, some as long as 52 weeks. Therefore, even though it won't be expended in this fiscal year, we need to go ahead and order it, and you can't order it without getting a PO, and you can't get a PO without having money in the line item. So to that end, we are asking to transfer money out of capital reserve for electric, and that's exactly what that's for, into electrical purchase for inventory so that we can order substations and transformers and stuff that we need to have on the yard.
What's the total in capital reserve
The total after this or before?
before?
We're moving all of it, but like $2,000.
And it's for parts and all of that?
Yeah, it's for stuff that we need to have for the projects that we got coming up, and without that, we won't be able to order them, and it delays the projects. We also are ordering, various transformers that we have throughout town, correct, Brian, that we've already had to replace.
At what rate do we rebuild that reserve fund? Like, how much do we put back each year for that?
It varies on different things. It really varies on what projects that we know is coming up. So don't be surprised at next year's budget if there's a line for anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 to go back in that, depending on how many projects we got going on.
In 1 year?
That's pretty high for 1 year, but we're also, the lead times is why. If we could get a transformer in 3 weeks like we used to, we wouldn't be asking for this.
The developer has given us a schedule. They will need water, sewer, electrical, in approximately 12 months into phase 3 of that subdivision. So we need to go ahead and order supplies based off the lead times that we're hearing, anywhere from 24 to
Yeah, I'm definitely great with that piece of it. Just the vulnerability of emptying it out worries me a little bit, and our ability to replace it. So, Brian, my question for you is for just atypical supplies that you would have on a normal year-to-year basis. Do you have a mid-max for that? Do you try to keep a certain inventory level of that, or is it by demand like we're doing now with regard to the developer's request?
As far as supplies for repair and maintenance, we try to keep a steady inventory. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't really vary year to year. We have a standard inventory for supplies.
All right, thank you.
And we also have, and I hate to put Jess on the, tell me if I'm way off, but we have about $4 or $5 million in the electric department that's unassigned, that if a major storm come through, that we can access as well. Is that's correct, right?
It's just sitting there waiting on us?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but.
Is it drawing interest, Jesse?
Yeah, not much, but it's drawing some.
Man,
But if a tornado or straight line winds come through or something, we had a major issue, we could tap into that as well. or a lightning storm, or ice storm, whatever, that's what it's there for.
Need a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that we accept ordinance 9/2023, to amend the 22-23 budget in the electric department.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carried unanimous. Ordinance 10-2023, ordinance to amend the Maiden Code of Ordinances pedestrian crosswalk.
So the crosswalk that we had the public hearing on earlier, to install it, we have to have an ordinance to change it, ordinance to change the Maiden Code of Ordinances to allow us to put it down.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance number 10/2023.
Have a motion?
Second.
A second. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Resolution 4-2023, a resolution to amend the employee group insurance plan for fiscal year 2023.
So this will be effective January 1st. It would actually change our insurance plan so that spousal coverage would not be offered. We offer it now, but it's so expensive, only one person takes it, and it's because they have no other choice. We did the numbers with that one person, and they would actually save about $6,000 a year by doing this, because they will be able to go on to the market. Since we've talked to all the employees about this, Wanda's had several inquiries from other employees, very, I won't say happy, but encouraged that we may be looking at doing this. It does not say at some point that we could not go back and add spousal coverage back. And the reason why we're asking to do it mid-year is the market runs January to December, not July to June. So to the benefit of our employees, we're asking for this resolution to be passed, therefore that we can get with them and let them take advantage of the marketplace rates.
And they've already scheduled their appointments with our insurance carrier to see just the average as to what their savings will be.
This will not affect dependent care, like we still, that will stay. It doesn't affect anything else except that we will say that we will no longer offer spousal insurance, and we're not the first municipality to do that.
But you can still carry dependents.
Yes.
You pretty much have to keep that just because
Yeah,
it's
we-
a garnishment,
Yeah, we'd lose
child support or anything, so that has to be in play.
that, plus we'd lose employees if we got rid of dependent insurance.
Define dependent.
Dependent is pretty much for your children, and spousal is for the husband or the wife.
But if a spouse is disabled, they're a dependent.
Okay, yeah, so the way the insurance works is employee plus children, employee plus
Plus
spouse,
spouse.
employee plus family.
Okay,
We're getting rid of the family and the spouse, we keep an employee and employee plus children.
so you won't use the word dependent.
No, that was my bad.
Okay, because I thought you could get.
Yeah, Wanda and
that's gonna get
Dwayne
tricky.
will well, actually, not Dwayne, Wanda and Audrey down at Dwayne's office will make sure we're all legal and everything's up and up. But I will say that this is one thing in 14 years of being here that I've had employees come and asked us to do. Like, they came and asked us to get rid of it because it's costing them so much money.
The
Because
overall
our-
insurance is an increased cost because you have spouses on there?
Our insurance for spouses is so expensive they can't afford it.
If we don't offer it, then they can go to
To the
Or you can't get a marketplace if you can get it at an employer.
Oh,
twice as
Yeah.
better insurance for probably
I'm with you.
half or a little
Yeah.
more.
I'm with you now.
So the one case study that we have is gonna save him almost $6,000 a year. And when you're making low forties, that's serious money.
Yeah,
I mean, it's serious money to anybody, but it's really
yeah,
serious
yeah.
money for them.
And we have some employees that would like for their spouses to be on, but they just can't afford it. So this here give them an additional opportunity to
To
seek
purchase
other
it.
markets for more affordable insurance.
Yeah, okay.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 4, resolution to amend employee group insurance plan for fiscal year 23.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adjourn.
I have a motion for adjournment.
Second.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. We are adjourned.